As the country prepares to mark 20 years since the September 11th attacks this Saturday, we're examining many of the lasting effects of that day. You'll likely remember there was almost immediate backlash following the attacks against Muslim Americans here in the Bay Area and beyond. Let's discuss this by welcoming Zara Billu, the Executive Director of the Council on American Islamic Relations in the San Francisco Bay Area, to the 9. Thanks for being with us.
Of course, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. What do you think has been the lasting effect of the September 11th attacks on the Muslim American community in particular?
That's such a big question. It's a combination of things. I would say that, Islamophobia continues to run rampant in our country and in our region. We see that not just with individual hate crimes, but also with the way law enforcement targets our communities. Employment discrimination continues, and even how our national leaders put forward rhetoric about what is happening in Afghanistan right now. At the same time, the community is resilient. They're stronger, and they're committed to staying and engaging and growing. And that's been what's gotten me through the last few years as I've thought about this upcoming anniversary, is that we've made a lot of progress despite immense challenges.
I know several times over the past 15, 16 years, I've been in your office there at CAIR, and you've played voicemails for me, left to members of the community, hateful messages, threats of violence, that sort of direct abuse and attacks. Is that still happening? And is that the biggest problem? Or is it what many people say is sort of the unnoticed, surveillance, suspicion, hostility that doesn't always make the headlines?
It's a combination of things. It feeds into each other. When our elected officials put forward hateful propaganda, material, content, speeches, we're not that far away from the Trump administration, and the Biden administration has had its own pitfalls, for example, in just talking about Afghanistan in the last several weeks. That makes it okay for law enforcement officials to target our community, which then makes it okay for the individual to target our community, to leave hateful voicemails. And so it's a cycle of hateful violence targeting a community. And we need to talk about all of it. We need to change all of it for us to really move forward when we talk about our relationship as a country with the minorities within it. What we experience, by the way, is not unique to our community. Latinx individuals, Black individuals, the LGBT community, the Asian American community have all experienced variations and sometimes far more severe versions of what we talk about with the Muslim community.
Many times over the past 20 years now, we've seen members of the Muslim American community step up, in the form of rallies, in the form of marches, in the form of running for office. Can you tell me how what happened 20 years ago spurred many people to advocacy that they really hadn't considered before the attacks?
So I have heard from leaders who've been in this work longer than me that there were Muslims running for office, that there was this upward trajectory, particularly, again, of immigrant Muslims, because Black Muslims have been here since this country's founding, but that there was this upward trajectory. And then there was this stifling, this fear, almost we just have to go along to get along for a short while. But what we learned quickly, what we learned from other communities who'd been in our shoes, was that we had to step up. We had to assert our voice. We had to take action. And so we've seen that, right? We said we need to speak up for ourselves. And especially these last couple of election cycles have been really inspiring, even in the Bay Area. Seeing people like Omar Dean run for and win city council in Sunnyvale, Aisha Wahab in Hayward, that's been inspiring, not just for me, but for younger people who are saying, wow, we can do this.
Yeah. Well, Zara Billu, it's good to connect with you again. I thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Of course.